My name is Katie Schwalen, and I'm an information security analyst here at Highmark Health. And I first joined the team to help stand up their threat intelligence program. A little bit of background about me. I actually did not come from information security before I got this job. I had every intentions of moving to DC and getting a big shot intelligence analyst job at a 3-letter agency. I'm kind of glad things didn't work out that way because this has been a super rewarding career. I've loved my time in information security, and I can't wait to see how the threat intelligence landscape progresses as we move forward. So just a quick agenda for today. We're going to be going over the objective of this presentation and what I hope you guys are going to get out of it. Then I'll be defining threat intelligence and what that definition looks like to my organization, as well as the elements of a successful threat intelligence program and how we've implemented those at Highmark to build our program out. Next, I'll be moving into some dark web visibility, which is a fairly new venture for us here at Highmark, and I'll be talking about how that has specifically expanded our program and allowed us to really get some great threat intelligence out of it. And then I'll be moving on to the importance of threat intelligence sharing, as well as building and maintaining those intelligence relationships. I gave this presentation at SecureWV last year, so this might look a little bit familiar to you, but I hope that with the changes I've made, you'll get something new out of it and be able to bring those back to your organizations. So the objective of this presentation will be to discuss many of the questions surrounding threat intelligence and its sharing. So exactly what elements make up a successful threat intelligence program, and then why is visibility into the dark web so important for threat intelligence for your organization? And then why it's important to pay it forward with threat intelligence, hence the title of this presentation, as well as how do organizations seek out intelligence sharing relationships, and how do you maintain these relationships and mature them? So defining threat intelligence. So as you can see at the top, there's a pretty big, long-winded definition of what threat intelligence is. And this one is in particular is by Gartner. I'm not going to read it. But what I encourage all of you to do, whether you already have a laid out, pretty successful and functioning threat intelligence program, or if you're just dipping your toes into it, is consider what that definition looks like to you and your organization. It's going to be different for everybody depending on your size, what your environment looks like, what tools you have, how many analysts you have, and what resources are at your disposal. But for Highmark, it's basically threat intelligence is information that helps organizations prevent attacks and uncharted threats that endanger their unique environment. That's what it is for us, but like I said, it's going to be different for everybody. So now I'll be delving into the elements of a successful threat intelligence program. And these, I believe, are some really good tried and true methods. They worked for us, but take all of these as a suggestion and try to apply them to your own organization. So the first would be threat intelligence impacts other areas besides security. You know, as security professionals, we really do have to sell our value sometimes to the organization because we do cost money, we don't make money. However, we do prevent the loss of revenue. A data breach could cause millions and millions and millions of dollars for a company to clean up and regain their reputation after it happens. So the way we frame threat intelligence as an importance to the business is that we prevent those costs from happening. So we are constantly communicating with our privacy and legal departments, as well as risk compliance, to really hit home how important threat intelligence is to protecting our organization. We also communicate a lot with corporate physical security, marketing, finance, and policy to really help them understand that sometimes their actions can affect the security of the organization. So communication with the business is very, very important, as well as helping them to understand why security and intelligence is an important part of the business. And I would argue, kind of off topic, that hiring analysts that have the ability to communicate with a non-technical audience like that is a really valuable skill to have, especially if you're working on a threat intelligence team. Additionally, intelligence can increase visibility into threats the organization faces as a whole. You know, something that I think mostly our business side employees don't realize sometimes is that external emails, and the users themselves actually pose a huge risk to the organization. So we really do hit home the importance of phishing training, making sure that you're vetting every external email that comes into your inbox, because that tends to be your weakest link. So as much intelligence as you can give the business side, the less the chance that you have of a compromise from that happening. The second element would be identifying separate operational and strategic goals. So strategic goals I like to refer to as soft skills, stuff that your analysts should have in their tool belt in order to make your security posture much stronger. Those include things like relationship building, whether that be within your company or outside your company, trend identification when it comes to reviewing notable events if you're a SOC analyst, adversary attribution, which TTPs go to which adversary and how can you learn to recognize them in the future, as well as internal assessments and technical self-evaluations. Whereas operational skills, I like to refer to as your hard skills. So technical skills, hard numbers, data analytics, stuff like that. So that can refer to incident identification and categorization, defensive controls, assigning alerts to analysts depending on their workload, or tracking and reporting key metrics. So the way that you can track each of these things or manage them would be for the strategic side of performance management console, for operational use of a SOAR platform. And if you're not familiar with what a SOAR platform is, it stands for security orchestration, automation, and response. So by automating a lot of those hard skills or things that analysts don't necessarily want to do every day, like incident identification and categorization, that can free up a lot of time for you to spend working on important incidents or special project work. Third would be working partnerships with larger security organizations. There's a ton of benefits to intelligence sharing that I can't possibly all list here, but I think the best one is knowing about your threats in real time. I'm gonna switch to HISAC for a second. You can see their logo over on the right side of the screen. HISAC is a health information security sharing agency. So they have a email distribution list. They have a private chat room where you can chat with other members about threats that they're experiencing in real time. They have a threat intelligence feed that you can ingest into your SIM platform. So really big benefits to being part of HISAC. There are a bunch of different ISACs out there. I know there's one for the finance industry. I think there's one for critical infrastructure as well, but just pick and choose which ISAC you want to join depending on what industry you're in. And they provide a lot of really great information, weekly webinars, trainings, conferences, stuff like that, which brings me to my next point, incentive and benefits like training, admissions to conferences, et cetera. And for this one, I'll kind of pick on Recorded Future. So if you haven't heard of Recorded Future, they are a threat intelligence platform. They are a paid service, and we do use them. They are our main source of threat intelligence. We ingest a lot of data from them and actually have alerts set up in the platform to alert us on various different things. So for example, we have a brand risk thing set up. So if someone is typo squatting one of our domains, it will alert us and we can take action. But for Recorded Future, they provide a ton of really exclusive training. So you can learn how to use not only their platform better, but conferences like Predict, where they bring in security professionals from all over the world to talk about high pressure situations that they've been in as security professionals and hot button topics in the industry today. And then third that I want to talk about is helping others in your community with intel on threats that you've discovered. So we're part of the Western Pennsylvania All Hazards Fusion Center here at Highmark. I actually used to intern with the city of Pittsburgh when I was in grad school. And when I found out about this program that the Fusion Center had, when I started working at Highmark, I was like, why aren't we part of that? Because it's a huge intel sharing community. It's essentially a public-private partnership with law enforcement, private organizations in the region, as well as all the local governments. We get together once a quarter and we discuss what threats are going on in the region, whether those be cyber, weather, stuff related to critical infrastructure, anything like that. Crime, the FBI is also very involved. So it's a really valuable relationship for us because we get to get the whole picture of threat intel rather than just the cyber picture. And those are all connected to each other. So it's a really great relationship that we have. A couple other relationships that I want to mention here are Blue Intel. So if you're not a healthcare organization, you probably haven't heard of them. But Blue Intel is an intelligence organization that serves all of the Blues plans across the nation. They're fairly exclusive. If you Google them, they won't pop up anywhere. It's literally a bunch of guys sitting in a basement doing all of this work for every single Blues plan in the country. And because of that, and their exclusive intel, it's all very targeted toward healthcare. So when we have a really big incident that happens, like the Ryuk incident that happened last week, if you didn't hear, Ryuk was attacking US hospitals across the nation, and we were in constant contact with Blue Intel to see what the scope of that threat was. The FBI had sent out a very ominous notice Wednesday of last week, and Blue Intel was able to provide us with enough intelligence to kind of talk us down off the ledge, let us know that, hey, if you haven't seen anything fishy in your environment in the last week, you probably weren't a target. But having that peace of mind and that intelligence relationship with them really helped us know what our risk was for that. And for those building profiles of threat actors, I believe that knowing who your attackers are and who the attackers are that you see most often is very valuable information. And profiling adversaries through your threat intelligence allows you to be much more prepared for attacks when they do come, as well as categorization of those threat actors. Those are just as important as building out your profiles and making sure you have all your TTPs in line, making sure all of your IOCs for that threat actor are already blocked on your network, and having a working profile so you can add to that as you see that threat actor more often. That threat actor for us is usually Emotet. We get a lot of phishing emails, and our messaging team is fantastic and does a really great job of blocking them most of the time, but sometimes they eke through, and we sometimes get an email compromise, but we know exactly how to deal with them because we've dealt with them so often, and we have that profile at the ready when something happens. We know how to identify them the first time they get onto the network, and we know what to do every time after that. So it's extremely valuable to have those profiles already built out so your team can go, that's it, okay, we know what to do. So now the fun part. I recently got into doing some dark web research. My mentor at Highmark, Robert Camella, he's on our incident response and forensics team, really pushed me to start doing this. So I was able to do some dark web research for threat intelligence for Highmark, and I think it's something that we're going to be continuing into the future with the help of our threat intelligence platform, Recorded Future, to start monitoring for leaked proprietary data on the dark web and using our knowledge of it to get it off of there. So I will be upfront. The reality of the dark web is not very glamorous. I know it sounds really fun and kind of like the first image that you see up there, but it's really not. It's more, it's a lot of trial and error with your search terms, I will say. Tons of broken links, lots of sites moved. You're not going to be able to get into some places. The barrier to entry can be high. So there also really isn't a one-stop shop for information on the dark web. It tends to be, you have to piece things together. So you'll find a really good piece of intel on one forum, but it won't be the whole picture. And you'll have to kind of search for it for a couple hours before you really do get a comprehensive image of what that looks like. Additionally, some forums can require you to create an account or register to view content on them. And that can be intimidating for somebody that doesn't really know how to navigate the dark web, doesn't have knowledge of what email services are available to use on the dark web, so people can't discover your identity, because you certainly don't want to use a personal email address. So technical knowledge is required to some degree. You really won't understand a lot about accessing the dark web, navigating it, or what you see on it if you don't have some baseline of technical knowledge. And now I want to talk about navigating to dark websites. So if you have never been on the dark web before, anything with a .onion domain is a dark website. Not necessarily like bad, but it is considered on the dark web for a website. And the way you get there is through the Tor browser or the Onion browser, which you have to download onto your desktop. Highly recommend using a burner laptop for this along with a virtual machine. I used an Ubuntu virtual machine for this particular project. I'm not going to get into all the technical details about how to set that up because I had a lot of help doing that. But if you're interested, there's tons of stuff out there that can help you. But I used a dark web search engine to really start exploring the dark web. DuckDuckGo is a stepping stone to that, but Mia, the screenshot that you see right there, is one that I found that was most successful in number of search terms that it gave me, and you didn't have to be super specific with your search terms. Torch was another one that I found, but you did have to be more selective with what you were putting into the search bar to actually get some results back. Excuse me, the Hidden Wiki is a repository of dark web links that you have for many different categories and services that you can find on the dark web. That's a great starting place, but I will say a lot of the links were broken by the time I got there. They aren't updated very often, so proceed with caution. And like I was saying earlier, your search terms do have to be a little bit more general. So when I first started, I was looking for Emotet TTPs or Ryuk ransomware. That was getting me nowhere because if you think about it, those threat actors aren't going to put out there that this is who they are and what kind of malware that they're making. So looking for something a little bit more general like malware or hacking or malware forum is going to be much more successful and get you a lot more places. So this is a screenshot of the Tor links that I was talking about. So as you can see on the screen, there is some commercial links at the top, and then there's some more non-commercial links. So it is the dark web, people. Be careful where you go. You can run into a lot of crap on there, so just proceed with caution. Okay, so the Outer Space blog was one of the first blogs/forums that I found when I was doing this research. It's written by a self-proclaimed gray hacker. And if you don't know what a gray hacker is, they sit in between a white hat and a black hat. So they sometimes cross that line for morality, violate some laws and ethical standards, but they don't necessarily have the whole malicious intent of a traditional threat actor. But I found this to be a really good resource for finding other hacking forums. So as you can see at the top in the screenshot, he had written a post recently on hacker forums. So I was able to get to a lot of different places by using his website. He also has a really good detailed walkthrough of different types of website compromises that he's done recently, as well as some malware analysis pieces. And he also reviews some new tactics in the hacking community as well. So really valuable place for my research. And this one, as it suggests, was, a little bit more on the dark side. It is called the Sinisterly Forum. So they provided a lot of threads on hacking from network, website to server, password cracking, hacking into people's social media or emails. However, I did find that this one was fairly exclusive. I wasn't able to get into a lot of the threads because you have to register and also pay dues on this particular forum. And I found that to be a pretty common barrier to entry on hacking forums. It keeps out the noobs, if you will. So if you're going to dive down this rabbit hole, keep that in mind. If you're actually going to register on some of these websites with a dark web email address, if you're contributing, make sure that you don't reveal too much about yourself or sound like you're not exactly up to snuff with the rest of the people on the forum. They will kick you out. And this seemed to have a pretty active membership, so I was able to get quite a bit of information out of this one. What you see now is a screenshot of someone's question asking if a Skype server was hackable. And I'm just now realizing that the member is called HackerCon. I swear I didn't plan that. But I did redact all of the stuff on here so you can't see what the server actually looks like. But this was a pretty common thing to see on that forum, like, hey, can I actually hack into this? Or hey, can I get help with this? And this was another post on there as someone asking for effective methods on hacking websites for drive-by downloads and harvesting database information. And the green icon guy that you see below that post, I think he was an admin on this account, on this particular forum. He was active on every single post, commenting, giving people advice, stuff like that. So like I said, very, very active membership on this forum. And the last forum I want to discuss is the GraySec forum. obviously run by gray hats, as the name suggests, but it gave a huge variety of topics, as you can see in the screenshot, just like miscellaneous discussion. But the most interesting ones I found were the malware development ones and human manipulation / social engineering. People were also posting a ton of resources to download, links to their GitHub repositories, books that they had written, white papers, and video tutorials for some difficult concepts for people to grasp. This is a screenshot from that malware development thread. As you can see, it started back in 2017, but was still so active when I got on there in September, and people just adding to it constantly. It had everything from how to reverse engineer malware to how to analyze it to how to write your first little baby malware script. Really fascinating to read through. And this is one from the social engineering thread. This guy linked a bunch of resources for books on how to conduct social engineering, interrogation, how to construct phishing emails to get more responses. It was just so cool to read through. So now that we've gone through how to use the dark web, how exactly do you share that intelligence or what you found necessarily with your peers? And how do you even go about making those relationships to enter into these kinds of intelligent sharing networks? So there's a ton of benefits to this. You discover vulnerabilities and data breaches in real time. Like I was talking about, those chat rooms with HISAC and Blue Intel are some of the most valuable intelligence relationships that we have at Highmark. They provide a ton of support for us. You also get a lot of successful methods of mitigating security threats, whether that's just joining an email list and people posting lists of IOCs that you can ingest. Even that is a really good first step into entering into intel sharing relationships. Community of best practices where topics are discussed. I've had people ask me for advice on interview questions since I do that for my team. I've had people ask what our SOC structure looks like. Hey, I've heard you guys use this tool. Is that actually good? You get a lot of really great discussions going from that. Access to intel reports that are specific to your industry and community. It just depends on the list that you sign up for and what your industry is, but I highly recommend that you seek those out once you have a good intel sharing network. What are the sources that your partners use the most often, and how can you get on that list? Exclusive training and classes. Obviously, I wouldn't have actually found out about SecureWV if it weren't for some of my intel contacts, so that was pretty great. And it also helps law enforcement quickly respond to threats. Like I was talking about with the Fusion Center earlier, we do have law enforcement involved in that Fusion Center. So whenever we get something really big, I do make sure I try to share that with the group in case they're seeing something across the region where it could actually help somebody and help them respond to a crime more quickly. So how do you build these relationships? It can be pretty intimidating to go up to somebody. I mean, it is just networking though. So attend conferences virtually for now. Hopefully this ends soon. But make sure that you're going to these conferences that information security professionals are going to be at, that are specific to your industry and where you actually might know some people so they can introduce you to some of their contacts. Some examples of this: ISSA forums, they're all over the place. B-Sides, very good community information security conference, local ones like this. And then engaging with your local government and law enforcement. We have a good relationship with the Pennsylvania State Police Cyber Division. They send us a cyber report every single month. And while some of it is outdated, it's kind of good to get a nice picture of everything that happened that month and see if we missed something, because oftentimes we get so much intelligence that we might miss something, and it's nice to have that comprehensive report and that relationship in case we do see something that we can share. Seeking out publications circulated by any sort of local agency. InfraGard from the FBI is really good for this. They do require a background check to get on their mailing list, but they send out so many awesome white papers and publications, and I'm pretty sure that you can specify which industries that you're most interested in seeing when you sign up for that. Again, valuable intel and new contacts that way. And also email distros and chat rooms. Discord's great. obviously. I've been on a couple different Discord channels for this, and it's been great. Also email distros. I'm a part of a couple for the healthcare industry, and we always get really valuable intel, whether that be IOCs or just general musings about security incidents that people are having. InfraGard I already mentioned. So the next step is actually maintaining those relationships. I think that's actually more important than forming them. You know, you can give somebody your business card and say, yeah, I'll email you, but I mean, you have to follow up if you're going to actually make that relationship a thing. So actively participate and contribute to discussions with your Intel partners. So tell them, how did you use the intel they provided? Did you contribute into the intel to them recently? Those are very important things. It is a back and forth relationship. You can't just ingest and not help out. So attending networking events and checking in with your contacts safely. You know, I've been to a couple Zoom happy hours with various vendors. You know, video calls are great with your Intel contacts, or just like a phone call or an email, like, hey, how you doing? How are you dealing with all of this? What is your organization doing differently during COVID? Just something to get that conversation started can be really helpful. And then seeking out training opportunities put out by organizations you already have relationships with. I was talking to Justin before we got on this about the one-time PGH conference that they did in Pittsburgh to replace our B-sides. It was so much fun, and I think they did a really great job with it. And you know, you guys here at SecureWV doing the training before the conference, seeking out opportunities like that is a really great way to maintain those intel relationships and check in with people you might not have seen or talked to in a while. But that's it for my presentation. I'll open it up for questions now, and I'll stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Hey.
Hi.
So you were here last year, right? You came to.
I was, yes.
Yeah, I'm 99% sure I remembered you from last year, and
yeah.
You know, we really definitely want you to be back. I mean, I hope next year that you know we're in person again. You know, you're
yeah.
just in. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, thanks for presenting, and let me look in the Discord here and see if anybody had posted any questions. Yeah, here's a question. It says, for the healthcare industry within InfraGard, is there a special interest group? There is a special interest group. You must be an overall InfraGard member first to join the SIG, but they can help with many aspects of IT security policies, medical devices, threat intel, etc. Are you an InfraGard member?
I am an InfraGard member, yes.
Yeah, I am too. I was
highly
on the board.
recommend.
I was on the board in West Virginia for a year, and then, but yeah, I'm on the InfraGard too. Yeah, absolutely. That's you know, we're getting those alerts every day or every other day. That's definitely handy.
Yeah, I agree. It's a really valuable resource.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else have any questions for Katie? Do you use any tools specifically for your threat intelligence program? I mean, I know I'm sure you went over some in your talk, but I mean, are there anything you know, like I can't remember the name of the one that we use with the Innocent Lives Foundation, but yeah, you know, there's dark web search tools and stuff like that. Do you have anything in particular that you're high on?
Yeah, we use Recorded Future for most of our threat intelligence needs, and they are a pretty pricey service, which has been difficult.
Right.
But they do have a pretty awesome team that looks into dark web instances. So, you know, we're able to do quite a bit of monitoring on the dark web through them. HISOC is really great. They just did a integration with Recorded Future, so we're ingesting all IOCs that are put out by HISOC and their intel team into our threat intelligence platform, which we couple with our SIM Splunk.
Cool. Well, all right. Katie, we appreciate you. We appreciate you talking, and everybody in the thread. The next speaker is Allie Mellon. She'll start at right about 4 o'clock. So we're going to take a quick break, I guess. Unless anybody else have any questions. Justin, do you have any questions? I don't know. Mike, you want to put up a slide? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Sorry, mute's hard.
Oh, there he is.
You got to be 10% smarter than the object you're working with, apparently, and that just ain't me. There was a comment in the Discord about InfraGard.
Yeah, we went over that one.
Sorry, I was BSing somewhere else. No, I don't have any questions right now.
Awesome.
Okay, cool.
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, so if anybody has questions that they missed and didn't ask me, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'll be on Discord until at least 4:30 this afternoon. So thank you guys so much.
Yay! That it just kind of loses something clapping in like virtual.
Hey, before you leave, there was another question that popped up here. It says, "Are there any certifications that you can that you think can help you get in?" Let me read that again. Sorry. Are there any certifications that you think that we can get to move into this field?
Yeah.
Like English is hard.
So the first certification I got was my Security Plus, and that was within 3 months of me getting my job at Highmark. I got my GSEC from SANS last year, and I'm looking to get another SANS cert next year, the Cyber Threat Intelligence cert. I think it's 4578 is the course name. But definitely if you're looking to get into this and anything in information security, Security Plus is a really good place to start. And then once you're in the field for a bit, definitely the GSEC. I think it's a really comprehensive cert.
Have you, and I don't mean to sound disparaging, but SANS is very expensive for people who
it is.
Companies not paying for them. Do you have any other, do you got something in a slightly cheaper?
Yeah, so Juniper Networks is, they actually offer a free cert. So I think it takes you like 8 hours or something like that, but you do get a certification at the end of it. And it's a really good primer in all things networking. So highly recommend that if you're not already in InfoSec and have good knowledge on it.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I did not know that personally.
Yeah.
I'm dumb about networking.
Yeah, I might go back and brush up on it soon. It's been a while since I took it.
I like coming to conferences where I learn I have no actual skills whatsoever. This is great.